So this is the Sabre 45. It's hole number 49. Today we're going to talk about the AC and DC systems in the boat. Okay, the Sabre 45 is a 240 volt boat, and this is a 240 volt shore power cord, 50 amp service. Sabre has also installed a transformer that can accommodate 30 amp 120 volt service, and all you'd need to do is put a pigtail on the end of this to adapt it to 30 amps, and then you can plug it into a 30 amp outlet. When you do that, you'll need to change a switch in the engine room to tell the transformer you're now supplying it with 120 volts. This boat is equipped with an automatic shore cord reel, and the switch is here on the side, so you can push the cord out and automatically retract the cord. This cord in midwinter gets very cold and stiff, and it is a difficult task for the shore cord reel to get it wound into the bucket. And you'll hear in midwinter the motor may struggle a bit, and that's just because of the stiffness of the cord. And in that case, you just want to help it along a little bit. You just want to push it in as it's going, kind of help that motor out, because it is quite a task. Also, when this cord is wet, sometimes the reel can't grip it very well, and so you'll feel it slip a little bit, and that's just because the whole system is wet now. And again, you just want to help it a little bit by coaxing the cord in there. And you can imagine when it's wet and cold, you may need to give it quite a bit of help. So the cord reels in from the outside of the boat into this bucket right here, and that's where you're going to store the power cord. From there, it goes to this ELCI circuit breaker, and this circuit breaker is designed just like you're at home in your bathroom. GFCI outlet protection. This is a protection for the entire boat, or more specifically for anybody swimming in the water. So this is a very sensitive circuit breaker. If you find you're plugged in and you know you have power at the dock, but you can't get it at your boat, it will be this right here. It is subject to some nuisance tripping, so it may trip, and you'll need to reset it here. When it's tripped, this circuit breaker will be white on the outside. Now, if it's tripped from a nuisance trip, it'll just be off. If it's tripped because there's a reverse polarity or some fault in the system, you'll see a red light indicating a fault in the system. From there, it comes out of the transformer, and it goes into this automatic switching box. And what this box does is it has both the shore power and the generator coming into this box. And so when you're plugged into shore power, it'll automatically switch shore power to the rest of the circuits in the boat. Or if you're running the generator, it will automatically switch to generator to the circuits in the boat. So there's no rotary switch or anything. It's wherever the power is coming from, it'll get switched here to the rest of the boat. Coming out of this box is another ELCI for protection, because it's on the output side of the transformer, and it's the same thing here. So this may also be one place you'll want to look if you're struggling to get power. Now, because this boat is capable of handling 240 volts and or 120, you will need to make that choice here at this box. So you can see it says 240 volts. When you're plugged in, as we are now, into 240 volts, you want the switch here. If you're using a pigtail, a 50 amp to a 30 amp pigtail, and you're plugged into 30 amp 120, then you're going to switch over here to 120, and that just tells the transformer what kind of power you're receiving. This Hubble transformer is capable of producing 240 volts even when it has less than 120 coming in. So in a low voltage situation, this transformer can boost the output of the transformer. From this rotary switch, the power then goes to the engine room ship's breaker panel. So this lower half of the breaker panel is AC power, shore power, and these are items that are intended to be left on. So we're working on the boat right now, so some of them are off, but Sabre is intended for all of this to just come on automatically when you're plugging in the boat, and the relay just brings the shore power to here. There is a second shore power circuit breaker panel forward. So these circuit breakers on the left here are all air conditioning units: master bedroom, guest, salon, and starboard salon. And these are meant to be left on all the time. There's also an AC pump. This is water circulation for the air conditioners. This must also be on all the time. It works in conjunction with these. This is the water heater. Sabre intends the water heater to be left on when the boat's plugged in. That's why it's down here. Same with the cooktop. This boat does not have a stabilizer, but if it did, the power would stay on all the time. This is a washer dryer breaker, the internal vacuum, and then we have the main battery charger, which charges the house batteries, the secondary battery charger that charges the engine and generator batteries. And even though this says inverter / charger, it is inverter only. Our inverter on this boat does not charge. And then this switch here is power to the circuit breaker panel inside the boat, which will be the items that you'll generally turn on and off as you use the boat. So the last circuit breaker we saw down in the engine room said helm panel, and that is referring to this panel here. This is the helm panel. So if none of this works, you'll also want to check that circuit breaker there to make sure it's supplying power to this panel. These are all items that are, you can choose depending on your needs. This side of the panel is the only thing in the boat that the inverter can control. So you can invert power only to this bus. You can't invert power for these items here. And the reason is because they also have a DC circuit breakers. So they don't need to be on the inverter because they have their own DC supply. This panel here, you can check the voltage with this voltmeter. Okay, I just unplugged the boat from shore power so we can simulate being at anchor. And so there's no power to the boat. Sabre's designed this system to be super easy to operate. You just literally switch the engine on, or the inverter on, and it will bring power to the inverter bus here, right down this line here. So you can use the breakers as you need them. You'll notice that you still don't read voltage here, even though the inverter is on. It's because it's taking a different path to this section of the breaker panel.
So it's going directly to those breakers instead of through the whole AC system.
Exactly, instead of through the AC system, and you can see the green light indicator lights are still lighting up.
Great.
Okay, so to use the generator, you'll first need to turn the generator battery switch on here. And you may note that sliding the door doesn't do anything. You've got to slide the door and push the switch. So I'm gonna push it back on here. And then when you start the generator, you're gonna hold the start button. And the generator is gonna go through quite a few pre-start checks and prime and warm the glow plugs. You'll see this light flashing here. What it's doing is disabling all the automatic shutoff features until the generator gets going. So even though it's started, I'm holding this button down until that light turns solid green, then I can let it go. If you let it go while it's blinking, it'll think it's having a fault condition and shut itself off.
Very nice.
So now in a moment here, you'll see voltage come up once the automatic switching is taken over. So it'll take a few minutes. There it goes.
And that's the Furion switch we saw in the engine room, correct?
That's right. That's right.
Now, does everything run off the genset on this boat? Is there anything that does not?
Everything runs off the genset.
Okay.
Yeah. To stop it, you don't have to hold the stop on. You can just push the button and it'll stop it.
Outstanding.
So this boat's equipped with an auto generator start, and the purpose of that is so that if you're at anchor, you can use all your DC systems. You can have your inverter on and inverting and consuming battery power. When the batteries get down to 11.2 volts, the generator will auto start and it'll run for a prescribed period of time.